How sweet and how pleasant it is for brethren and sisters to dwell together in unity. It's like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that ran down to the hem skirts of his garment. Bless this meeting, Heavenly Father, and give them the power necessary, and give them peace and harmony, Heavenly Father, right now in the name of Jesus. The peace, give them satisfaction, Heavenly Father, and give them the necessary uh, give them the necessary guidance that they need to do the things that they need to do. I know that this sounds like stumbling, but we don't want to stumble. We want to keep this meeting straight and narrow. And Heavenly Father, we ask you to bless this meeting and bless the people of this meeting right now in the name of Jesus. Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. All right.
What are you doing?
So we have a couple items for closed session. We'll do public participation for closed session items.
Members of the public may participate and give comment in one of these ways: in person at West Valley Water District boardroom, via telephone by calling the following number, 888-475-4494, via Zoom, access code 840-293-7790, or via email at administration@wvwd.org.
All right. Have we received any requests for comments on closed session items?
No, we have not.
Okay. If there's anyone here in public or on the Zoom who would like to speak on any of the closed session items listed on the screen, please raise your hand or indicate your desire to speak now. All right. Seeing none, the board will adjourn into closed session. Thank you. All right, we are back from closed session. We will now have a report out from closed session. Legal?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The board met in closed session on the two items listed. The first one, comments with labor negotiators. There was no reportable action, but there is another meeting on this item, conference with labor negotiators, for a week from today as a special meeting to keep that process moving along. On item 2, under 54956.9, there was no reportable action.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so now we have agenda before us. There is one request from staff. We would like to move the presentation number 2 and make it actually a business item because we need to actually vote on the proclamation.
Right,
So
so-
we would need a four-fifths vote, so we would need all of us to agree on that, right?
Right, so you could entertain a motion to adopt the agenda with the addition of an item for board action on the proclamation, and then take it up whenever you want.
Okay.
I mean, you could take it up as an action item before
Then-
you have the presentation if you
Okay.
wanted,
All right, well, we can keep it then where it is, but
Yeah.
just do it as a action item.
please.
Okay, so we would like to make that amendment
Motion to adopt the agenda
Yep,
with the
if-
addition of board action on the proclamation.
if there's nothing else anyone wants to change.
Then I make a motion that we adopt the agenda with the addition of the action item as amended.
Okay, we have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and call the roll.
Director Bennett,
Yes.
Director Garcia,
Yes.
Vice President Jenkins,
Yes.
President Young.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Okay, now that takes us to public participation.
Members of the public may participate and give public comment in one of these ways: in person at West Valley Water District's boardroom, via telephone by calling the following number, 888-475-4494, or via Zoom with the access code 840-293-7790, or via email to administration@wvwd.org.
Okay, have we received any requests for public comment?
No, we did not.
All right, if there's anybody in person or on the Zoom who would like to speak, please raise the hand or wave or throw a rock or anything to let us know that you want to talk.
Throw a rock.
All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public participation. And we'll go to our first presentation on the Romer project.
Yeah, we're making great progress out at Romer, and Rocky has a presentation to showcase the project and some of the recent challenges and accomplishments. Rocky.
Thank you for having me today. So we were asked to give a presentation of the progress on Romer to date. I think we have a PowerPoint that we're trying to open up now. So just to kind of help remind the board of some of the initial project benefits that were envisioned with this project. The main project benefits were that we wanted to increase our water production capacity by 7.2 million gallons per day. We wanted to improve our water supply resiliency. While we were doing all these improvements, if we could make electrical efficiency improvements, that would be great for the Romer project and for our bottom line. And then we wanted to implement a modern control system. I'll go into a little more detail about these in a few slides. To give the board an idea of the schedule that we're working with right now and some of the milestones that we're anticipating, obviously there's a lot going on out there. But right now we're doing a lot of control loop testing and troubleshooting of the instrumentation and controls. The operations building is a milestone that we're shooting to have complete by March of 2025. So there's several long lead items that have driven the schedule on this project, specifically the electrical components, the main switchgear, motor control centers, and variable frequency drives that help regulate pumps at varying flow rates. Those are going to get delivered to the site in February of 2025, and then they get installed right away. So that's a big milestone. Some of those supply chain challenges that we all heard about during COVID is still in play with some of these equipments. it's nice that those are going to be here in February. And then we're shooting for plant startup and commissioning in May of 2025. So we have a video here, construction progress video. We're not going to go through the whole thing all the way back to the start of the project, but this is from February of this year. And what you can see early on in February, we had a couple wet days and rainy days. And then you're going to see project right here at the progress at the influent pump station. They're doing some of the underground work to get the cans and piping to those pump stations. There's some work over here at the operations building and forming of the foundation of the new filter building. As we progress here, we see a lot of work with some piping for the GAC influent lines. There's some work over here at the effluent pump station. And then a lot of work right in here regarding the influent pump station surface equipment. Right now, the forming for the foundation has been poured there in the filter building. They're forming out the pads for the filters right there. Pretty soon the filters are going to pop up. There they are. Work continues out in front of the operations building. The moment resisting frame for the ops building goes up. They're going to start installing the fire suppression system, some interior piping that connects to the structural framing, and then the siding on the building goes up there. And from this point on, we have some work out in front of the filter building. Basically, a duct bank's going to be installed here pretty soon. They're doing some more surface work on the influent pump station. The operations building gets the CMU wall installed. The roofing on the CMU walls, or on the operations building, is going to be added there. There's the duct bank feeding communications and powers back to the operations building. And a lot of construction progress being moved around. From this point on, there's a lot of work going on inside this building, connecting the filter units, to doing the electrical wiring, instrumentation wiring, and then also general piping inside that building. There's also some work going on down at this end of the treatment plant with the effluent pump station and some roadway work for that effluent pipeline to get up to our reservoir sites. On the next slide, we're going to talk about upcoming activities that include improvements to Riverside Avenue, Via Bello and Linden final paving, and then the control systems testing and connections. And I think this is some nice pretty days in late September, early October. So these upcoming activities, if this picture on the left is taken looking southeast from Romer along Riverside Avenue. So we're going to be widening that roadway a little bit, adding a turning lane, adding curb and gutter, and doing some roadway improvements, landscaping and things like that. That's going to be a big improvement for traffic coming into Romer and safety improvements along that roadway. So that picture was taken last week, so they're making a lot of progress there. That middle picture is something near and dear to my heart. That's the control systems. This is the brains of what's going to be controlling Romer. And there's a lot of testing, commissioning that's going on there. That's a picture from the factory acceptance test that our staff witnessed in City of Commerce. And then the far right picture there is the operations building, I think 2 weeks ago. They're installing some of the building facades there. And then I wanted to give the board this set of slides. When we talk about the project benefits, it's really nice to be able to point to a specific piece of equipment and say, this benefit is exactly for this purpose. So I wanted to go through that in these slides here. So the added 7.2 million gallons of treatment capacity really comes down to the filters there. So inside that filter building 2, there's 3 big new filters with an upflow portion and a granular media downflow portion. That's a picture of it there with connection piping being installed. The next component of the project that's a big benefit is our water supply resiliency. So the added treatment capacity this additional 7.2 million gallons is going to provide is going to help us leverage Lytle Creek water year round. And then also when we have years of elevated state water project availability, we're going to be able to take more of it then. So that really improves our ability to leverage our water supply. And then on a facility level, the new influent and effluent pump stations provides another level of resiliency when we have to take down the current influent or effluent pump stations for maintenance or inspection services. So, but in the past, if one of those wet wells needed to be taken down, the whole plant would need to be shut down for however long that needed to be. These new pump stations are going to allow the plant to stay in service. There's several components of this project that have added energy efficiencies. The VFD drives that help control the pumps is a good example of that. One very easy example to point to is the UV disinfection system. That's the module right there. If you look inside that module, you'll see a bunch of quartz sleeves, and at some point in the future, there's going to be lamps installed in there, and those lamps help to emit a light that helps to disinfect the process flows. These new units are the same manufacturer as the units that were installed with Romer, but the improvements in the ballast design that controls the voltage to these lamps improves the energy efficiency by 50%. And then it also increases the flow capacities of these devices by about 100%. So if you look at these lines, when we added these modules, we didn't have to add another line to increase capacities because built into these units was added capacity. And then the next one was the modernization of our control system. So we're trying to replace an older, outdated, proprietary control system. That picture on the left helps to indicate what that system looked like for our operations staff. The new system is a PLC-driven system that's open source that we can have a lot of integrators help us out with our integration needs. This is going to improve our remote monitoring and operator response to any potential process challenges or just normal day-to-day operations. It's also going to help to automate data collection and improved regulatory reporting. So a lot of the reporting that Joanne does is laborsome in where we pull the data from and those sorts of things. This system will help to spit out reports, hopefully in an easier way to help Joanne and her staff out. And with that, I'd be happy to discuss any items that the board or anybody had.
All right, does you have any questions?
Yeah, I had a question. First of all, great presentation, Rocky, but I noticed that are we still on budget then because of the delays of either equipment and or weather?
Everything that the board has approved, we're still on budget there. I mean, we've had a few change orders along the way, but we're bringing those to the board as they come up. And the change order percentage is pretty low
Great.
for this project. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
When is it going to get completed?
So we're planning startup and commissioning in May of 2025,
That's soon.
next year.
That just means we got to start the party planning soon.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any questions? Nope. Thank you, Rocky. Great presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we'll have the Cancer Awareness Proclamation.
So before the presentation, would the board like to take a vote on the proclamation to approve it?
Should I read it first for everybody, or do we have a staff report first?
Just a little intro. Cancer Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness and recognize all of those impacted by cancer. And thank you to Director Garcia for bringing this up and recommending this presentation item. We have prepared a proclamation, and President Young, if you would read that, the board can.
Yeah, so it's on the monitor there too, but
Yeah.
The Water District Proclamation, Cancer Awareness Month, whereas in 2023 there was 1,958,310 new cancer cases and 609 820 cancer deaths are projected to occur in 2024 in the United States. Whereas cancer is the second leading cause of death in the United States, and approximately 40.5% of men and women will be diagnosed with cancer at some point during their lifetimes. Whereas cancer research is critical to improve the prevention, detection, and treatment of these cancers and ensure that survivors live longer, better quality lives. Whereas regular medical checkups and cancer screenings are vital to detect cancer at an early age, which means the treatment is more likely to be successful and increase the chance of survival. In some cases, they can prevent cancer from developing in the first place. Whereas water is essential to good health and vital to medical centers, business, and research facilities that help to continue research for this disease. We will continue to work towards water system reliance resilience to ensure that our customers and medical, residential, and business have access to high quality and reliable water service. Now, therefore, the Board of Directors of West Valley Water District do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Cancer Awareness Month at West Valley Water District, to come together in recognition and support of all those affected by all cancers, to honor co-workers and family and friends who have been impacted by cancer, and encourage all staff and ratepayers to take due note of the observance and consider regular screenings. And then witness thereunto on behalf of the West Valley Water District Board of Directors, blah, 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 blah. So if that is agreeable to everyone, we can entertain a motion to adopt the proclamation.
I motion to adopt the proclamation.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion? I'll just add that this is a particularly poignant month for myself and for my family, with my mom's continued cancer battles as well. So with that, we can go ahead and call the roll.
Director Bennett,
Yes.
Director Garcia,
Yes.
Director Moore. Oh, I'm sorry, he's not here. Vice President Jenkins.
Yes.
President Young.
Yes. Okay.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, so that takes us to the consent calendar. So we have just one item on the consent calendar tonight, the board minutes for September 19th. If there's no changes, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
I motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Okay, we have a first, do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Director Bennett.
Yes.
Director Garcia,
Yes.
Vice President Jenkins,
Yes.
President Young.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, all right, so now to business items. So we have item number 2, the adoption of the resolution adopting a mitigated negative declaration for well number 57 project.
Thanks for having me again. So the Well 57 project was proposed by the district to serve in our northern service area to be a backup well for Well 54, which is getting a little older these days. The district contracted with Tom Dodson and Associates to prepare an initial study to comply with secret requirements for this project. Tom Dodson and Associates prepared their analysis by consulting with various specialists, agencies, tribal communities, and various organizations. The final initial study, which is attached to our staff report, was made available for public comment in August of this year. We received no comments or objections during that public review period. The analysis concluded that a mitigated negative declaration satisfies the CEQA requirements for this project. What that means is the district agrees to certain mitigation measures in the activities of this project. Examples of those mitigation measures that may be committed to if the board approves this item is various dust control, biological surveys, diesel fuel spill prevention, the use of low emission construction equipment for air control, tribal monitoring during ground disturbance periods, implementation of construction site BMPs like silt fences and mud flaps on trucks, and the installation of noise barriers to limit the noise that's the adjacent community hears as a result of the construction and also the operation of the well. If adopted, these mitigation measures can be provided to our design engineer for incorporation into our design package. And with that, staff's recommending that the board hold a public hearing to receive any comments from the public. And if the board is satisfied, the board can approve the initial study, notice of determination, and the mitigated negative declaration, and then authorize the general manager to sign and execute any of the needed documents to fulfill this. And with that, I'd like to take any questions.
Any questions from the board before I open the public hearing? Okay. All right, thank you, Rocky. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the room or on Zoom who would like to speak either for or against the item and the declaration? If so, please indicate at this time. And we received no emails or anything on this item.
We did not.
Okay. All right. I guess we can close the public hearing then if nobody's
Right,
gonna-
I mean, there were comments to the document, but those have been fully documented as part of the CEQA process. So,
Okay.
but for this particular public hearing, we did not receive any oral, verbal, or written public comment.
All right. Seeing no one else, I'll go ahead and we'll close public hearing. And now, board, we have the declaration in front of us. I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
I motion that we adopt the resolution for the well number 57 project.
So, and I'm sorry,
me.
just to be clear, the recommendation is to adopt all three of those things, right? Approve the initial study, adopt the resolution, authorize all necessary documents. Those are three different things, or can they all be done by way of the resolution? I guess if they're listed, I'd recommend you take a motion to adopt staff recommendation of items 2 through 4.
2 through 4, yeah.
I motion that we adopt the staff's recommendation items 2 through 4 regarding well number 57.
All right, we have a first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion, board?
This is just the monitoring well 57 that is located up in northern Fontana?
It's a well in,
It's not a
it's not a monitoring well.
I'm thinking,
If built, it would be a production well.
a production well? Is that
Yeah.
the same one?
Yeah, this was
Yeah,
the
yeah, but-
redundant one we were looking at building in that IUA portion of the district.
Okay.
So it would serve kind of that Duncan Canyon, Northwest Fontana portion of the district.
And we're doing this in the event that that production well goes down?
In part, it's also that we have so much development up there that we kind of need to have more like a second well as it is, probably too. But certainly having redundancy is been a big factor as we've discussed in engineering and ops committee.
Just want the public to know, why we're doing
Sure.
an additional well in that area.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rocky.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments, discussion? I do want to thank staff for all their hard work on this item and Director Garcia's help, especially with getting the property as well on this one. You helped us with the city a little bit there.
I think that Linda did it all by herself.
Yeah. Well, thank you to everyone involved in this project for sure. And we've had to incur some pretty hefty payments for water imported when the current well has gone down. So this will add some much needed redundancy to that part of our service area. So thank you to everyone. So with that, we'll go ahead and call the roll.
Director Bennett,
Yes.
Director Garcia,
Yes.
Vice President Jenkins,
Yes.
President Young.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right, and the item number 3, the nitrate study update.
Thank you, Mr. President. The district, we've been raising awareness of the regional nitrate contamination issue, both regionally and also at the federal level. And now, of course, collaborating with Norma Torres on her legislation. And as you may recall, WSC is a consultant working with SAPA on groundwater modeling and engineering studies. So we've been able to work with them and leverage an existing groundwater model to build maps to show nitrate combination, to show nitrate contamination. We have seen the map on nitrates. We took this to see what we shared it again at the ASB CSD event. We've been talking about we know the area impacted, but we need to know the quantity of water that's being tied up by nitrates at various concentrations. So that information has been eluding us a little bit, but I do have some updates on that coming up. So quantifying the amount of groundwater impacted by nitrates is an important piece of the puzzle. We checked with the Chino Water Master, and we just received some information today. Rocky, thanks for working with that. I did have a late add to your package that shows information from the Chino Basin Water Master. Basically, they have those nitrate concentrations identified for the Chino Basin. So it's a lot of the area that we're considering as part of the WSC study. But given that, we do have a proposal from WSC to conduct a more widespread study. The proposal that was included on this item includes 2 options ranging from 24 to 28,000, depending on the geographical extent of the study. So you can do essentially the entire mapped area for 28,000. So that's probably certainly the way to go. This was presented at Engineering Operations and Planning Committee a couple weeks ago. We had some discussion at the last board meeting under committee reports, and we are looking for funding partners. We understand that IEUA is willing to be a 50-50 partner with us on the WSC study if we choose to go that way. Okay. And so I think some really good news coming in, in the last day or two. We've got IEUA and a 50-50 partnership, and we've got a lot of existing information coming in from the Chino Basin Water Master. So we just got this today. We're still need to look at it. The Chino information includes a lot of the area, not all of the area. So staff is just looking for some direction on how to proceed, how you'd like me to proceed with this work. Maybe one more thing to add is that this WSC study is going to take 2.5, 3 months. So if we want this information to take with us to Sacramento at the end of January and DC at the end of February, we need to get this going in the next week or 2.
Yeah.
So that's a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that was going to be what I was going to chime in. So so that's kind of the reason that we put it on the agenda tonight. We wanted to brief the board on the timing, and certainly I'm glad to hear that we were able to get a 50-50 agreement from IEUA. I think fantastic. And really, and particularly for Director Bennett, when we were in DC last time, we kind of showed them this map, but we don't know the quantities. And so we had kind of promised our congressional delegation that when we came back next year, we would have numbers. So that's part of what John was just kind of talking about, is that we're trying to figure out how we can quantify it. Looks like we got some really good data today from the Water Master. So definitely thank you, Rocky, for your help on that. And certainly we want to kind of look at probably moving forward with this proposal to get the rest of the data, hopefully again in time for our upcoming trip to Sacramento and to DC. So I think I kind of summarized it more or less, but yeah. So just so you understand, because we showed them the map and they're like, oh, wow, that looks really bad. How much water are we talking about?
Yeah.
You know, so now we need to quantify it.
So I do have a question regarding, is that the end of your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so the email you just gave us today from West Yost, it seems like, is that the impacted volume of area in the blue?
The, on the map we're seeing up here,
Yeah,
that was the area circled in blue was the option, the first option of the WSC study. And within that blue area, you'll see the kind of the pie chart points to the Chino basins that are faded back a little bit. Those are the it's Chino North, Chino South, Chino East, right? There's no Chino West. Okay, so it's the sum of the Chino basins, and the numbers, you know, there's almost 2 million acre feet impacted at 10 parts per million, and over 3 million acre feet impacted at 5 parts per million.
okay. So let me just ask you a few questions, okay? Because this is new information that you gave us.
Sure.
I think that's really great information. I mean, they pretty much gave you a lot of information that I think that we can already give to Washington, D.C. But I guess ultimately the more important question is, what's really the goal of that? What is it that we're trying to present to when we go to Sacramento and Washington, to the representatives? That what's the goal that we're trying to achieve?
You want to show the extent of the contamination, maybe the history of the contamination, the amount of water that's being impacted, the communities that are being impacted, the cost of existing treatment, and looking for funding for treatment for nitrates to clean up the groundwater, and to use water, that local water that's right here, instead of importing water from Northern California or from the Colorado River, and showing a regional effort. That always has a big impact.
Okay, so I just wanted you to understand why I find this study to be somewhat like difficult for me to accept as a study that West Valley needs to move forward with. What you've given us today is an area that is already, you know, you have it here with the boundary. We already got the number of acre volumes of water that's impacted. What you're saying is you want to go down all the way to Temecula, Riverside. I mean, that's really far from our service area. So I don't understand, like, what is the goal of finding the nitrates from basins that are so far away, when in fact we have an on-site FBR behind us who is treating the nitrates already. So I don't understand, like, why are we spending so much money on this study?
And just for a reference on the map behind me, you can see the north and south service areas of West Valley identified. So this Chino Basin information is just cutting maybe the west third of our southern service area. So we'll have some information from this Chino Basin report for that area. The WSC study will give us the rest of the information for our own service area. It probably costs 20 grand if they're just only doing our service area, but for like 28,000, they can do like the entire map that we're looking at. So we just see it's a very cost effective. And if we have this much larger area, we can pull in IEUA, we can pull in our other partners.
And certainly water is a regional resource, and certainly part of the argument that we made, and you were with us when we talked to them last year in DC particularly, is that, you know, every drop that we can maximize here locally is one less drop we have to take off of either the Colorado or, you know, import water from Northern California. So yes, we're looking to quantify the data beyond just our own territory for that very reason, because this is a regional issue. It's not just a West Valley issue, and You know, that's why we're looking to get that broader range of data so that we can quantify what we promised our legislators we would bring back to them.
So, one of the things that we recommended in committee was that you reach out to our local stakeholders, and it seems like you reached out to IAUA. I would encourage that we continue to do that so that when we do go to Sacramento and Washington, that we are doing this as a collaborative approach. And right now, we're not doing that. We're just starting the conversation. And frankly, I don't think that there's really an urgency to get this information because, I mean, the nitrate's been there for decades. It's not going to go anywhere. The MCL is not going to change. We have proven technology that already is cleaning up arsenic, which we have on site behind the building. So I would recommend that we continue to, you know, reach out to our other stakeholders, including IUA, so that when we do talk to our local representatives, it shows that we're doing this as a collaborative approach, not just trying to do this rogue on our own. Thank you.
I have a question, maybe you can educate me. On the region as it goes along here on this map, circled in the blue, part of this, it's migrating, correct? That's one of the reasons why we're looking to demonstrate what's available to more of the public should this be cleaned up, I guess. It's not just all
Right.
going down to this, you know, it's natural process of migrating from one high point to a low point.
I'm not an expert on hydrogeology in this area, but generally it's moving from the northeast to the southwest. But there's major basins, there's sub-basins. It's complicated. There's a massive groundwater model to answer those questions. I don't know. We can probably, well, I don't know how nitrate concentrations have changed over time in the various areas, but we can ask the groundwater model for that. Probably the existing work that SAPA's done will tell you a lot of that.
But also starting this is also like the first step of building that collaborative effort and having multiple agencies join in on sharing whatever potential we can do to clean up our environment.
Sure, we have the Torres bill. Socorro's been in touch with the Office of Norma Torres. We're looking for what were the partners and the people that she worked with when she developed that bill. So I feel like those are potential partners in this effort. And certainly our local partners, I think we have yet to maybe reach out to Valley. We're really working with IEUA extensively initially and the Chino Basin Water Master. So it'll, you know, we can continue to reach out and.
Yeah, because I really want to go to Sacramento and Washington, D.C. and show that we are doing this collaboratively with other stakeholders. And right now we're not there yet. And that's just what I proposed during the committee, and I want to continue that. Again, you know, we're looking at impacted groundwater with nitrates that, you know, this is a very big service area, and maybe we can have our, you know, CalStrat and our lobbyists help us out with this effort. But right now, I still think it's preliminary. We got IUA. I know that they have a nitrate system there going.
We have a treatment system.
Yeah, so, and we have one ourselves on site. I think that this is a regional, FBR is permitted to do nitrates as well.
It removes nitrates.
Yes, it does.
Do
It
we-
does. I have it.
Oh.
So anyways, I just wanted to make sure that we do this together, collaboratively with others, and not just try to go rogue on our own on such an area that is so widespread that doesn't, it's just, I'm not comfortable spending, just because this is just the beginning. This is just a study. And then I saw the second page, they're proposing to collect samples, which is another 10,000. And then once you collect the samples, you have to put a report together, and the report also costs money. So at some point, you need to have a group of people working together so that they see that it is a regional effort. And right now, it's just a West Valley water effort. Thank you.
John, correct me if I'm wrong, we also have a federal interest, like the EPA wants to find out this information so they can possibly act on it.
Correct.
You know, I honestly, I don't know at the level. I would
Okay.
expect they would like to know that information, but
Yeah.
I guess I haven't asked and been told that.
Yeah, well, we met with the R&D division
that,
there at EPA, so I think that's what you're referring to, Dan.
Correct, yes.
You know, and certainly, you know, I fully agree that we want to broaden this into as big of a coalition as we possibly can, but you don't just snap your fingers and create a coalition overnight. On some level, you have to kind of get out there and kind of blaze a path and to kind of start bringing people in one at a time. I mean, I'm really excited about IUA being interested in going partners on us on this. I mean, that's a huge breakthrough right there. So, I mean, yeah, it's a cost. It's well within John's authority. And frankly, to get that much data tabulated, it's, I think, a pretty good bargain, honestly. But, you know, certainly we're going to continue those efforts. And certainly I would fully expect that the, you know, External Affairs Committee will continue to push to try to build more of those relationships to help us out on something like this, because we do need to get other partners. But again, we're not going to get people to just jump on day one. You know, you have to go out there and you have to work it. And so far, it looks like we're maybe getting our first major partner on board, and that's wonderful news.
Yeah, if I may just
Yeah.
real quickly on that point, in order to pay for a project that is within the boundaries of this district, and the contract is within your purchasing authority at $20,000, if you were to simply do it for the jurisdiction of this district, but you're saying for $28,000 you can do the entire area, but that IUA is going to cover half of the 28?
Is that our understanding? Rocky's been closing the deal today.
We haven't put ink to paper
Yeah.
yet, but there was a verbal commitment from their water resources director
So
that they would cost share 50-50.
Great. So in that case, you have a regional partner that is within their broader jurisdiction, paying
Right.
for half of a project where most of the benefit, quite frankly, is going to the district for its jurisdiction. But that would be my concern, is that, to the point of the president, this is within your authority as the general manager. So you're really bringing it here to say, hey, good news, we've got someone going on half on the larger project. It's still focused on our jurisdiction. You want like a green light to at least proceed with that part. Is that a good
Yeah, I was
summation?
looking for direction from the board to continue this type of work.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my only point from the legal point of view is making sure that we're using district funds for district projects, and if we're going outside of our area, then somebody else picking up half, which is really more than half for our purposes, would justify it.
So if we got a proposal for what it would cost to model just the district service area, let's just say that's $20,000.
Well, that's what you said earlier, right?
That was a estimate.
Okay.
Because the blue area is 25,000, and to do the entire area on this map is 28,000. So
Okay.
I feel like it's maybe 20,000 just to start the study.
Okay, but,
Well, we could get that number.
well, no, just that if we're going to
If-
cover area beyond our jurisdiction, we need some partner who's going to cover that part. And it sounds like
Gotcha.
that partner's going to cover more than
Correct.
that part.
And
The
IUA
difference.
does
Yeah.
have a portion of our district as well, so there is overlap when it comes to our
Okay,
territories.
that was my only concern.
Yeah.
And maybe just for clarity, Albert, could we bring up the page just before this? It's another map. It was just, sorry, the last map in in your book,
And the packet,
in your board packet.
No, that's, this one?
yeah, so
Okay.
it'll be
Yeah.
towards the end.
Okay.
All of those areas circled are the areas included by the second option under the WSC proposal.
Would that be the 28K
Yeah.
response? Oh,
Yes,
and IUA is willing to pick up 14,
that's our understanding,
the entire, wow,
entire study.
good
So
for us, I guess.
So what is the table after that? What is that table? The table before that? That has a number of 38,000.
There's, I see one task for 23,563, and then one fee estimate for 27,745. Is that the page we're
Page 155.
I think she's talking about the next page.
155? Oh. I cannot read those numbers.
It is pretty small.
Is there additional optional tasks on there, perhaps?
But essentially, we have the different spheres or colored circles, and the dollar amount between the differences is pretty minimal, really. So we can get a whole lot for a little bit more, essentially.
Yeah, I need clarification on that because you have a $27,000 figure here, and then your table breaks down the task for performing analysis to characterize volume of groundwater impacted by nitrates. It breaks it down, and then the total is 38,000.
Well, John, just kind of looking at what she's referring to on that
Sure.
page, I think it's mainly task 3 that she's inquiring about, because that would look like to be the difference.
Oh, okay.
So at the very bottom there, you have task 3, graphical
graphical
leave
leave
behind
behind.
on nitrate contamination in the Santa Ana River watershed.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Because it looks like the 1 and 2 is where the 27,000 is.
To do the work, and then there's
Yeah.
some preparation for the graphic.
Yeah. But what is task 3, I think, is Director Garcia's question, correct?
Looks like that's,
Well, really, what's the discrepancy in cost? I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to pick on you, but you know,
no, actually, no, great, good point.
you have a $27,000 estimate, and then on the next page, the breakdown is 38,000. And
Yeah.
you know, if IUA is willing to pay 50% of this initial study, I just want to make sure that they're in agreement of what they're signing up for. And frankly, I kind of would like to see that agreement before I would agree to move forward.
Yeah, no, good point. There's, the task 3 is to do some additional work, graphical work, to assist us in presentation in DC and Sacramento and otherwise.
Which is more of probably an optional thing for consideration maybe later, but really 1 and 2 is what we need to probably look at doing in order to get the work done in time for Sacramento and DC, right?
If I can provide a little clarification.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that was just a Excel table rounding error. So between, if you do the whole watershed, that's the 15,335. And if you combine that with the item 0
Oh.
and item 3,
Oh,
that's
right,
how you
right,
get
right.
to the 27,745 number. If we only chose to do the limited service area, I think we come to the 23,563.
Yeah, I think, this last spreadsheet is incorrect.
It
should
summed
be
a number
total.
twice when we had to just pick one or the other.
Yeah, both of those fee estimates, the 24,000 and the 28,000, they both include this task 3, which is the graphical leave behind. So
So it's an error on
28,000
the
is-
spreadsheet.
the
what you're saying.
spreadsheet has, an adding error.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Um,
I was stumped.
Director Bennett, I know we've been going back and forth a lot over here, but I know you're kind of new to the board, and I think hopefully maybe you're catching up a little bit on the history of our discussion on the nitrate and what we talked about previously with DC. But do you have any thoughts or concerns about what John has before us?
Well, if you're going to be splitting 28,000, that sounds like a good deal versus doing it alone for
Mhm.
20,000.
Sure.
I would be in favor of splitting it.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts or comments from?
Well, I want to, assuming we're going forward right now before we make a motion, that part of the recommendation from the nitrate study from the staff, it says fiscal impact not to exceed 28K. So I guess we already have a boundary, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was just a max, not to
Okay.
exceed based on the WSC
That helps
task
me. Thank you.
number 2.
Thank you.
And if I can just, so just to kind of reiterate, so this isn't actually an action item, so we don't need to actually take a vote on this.
Oh,
It's just he's updating us, probably looking for some consensus. I realize we have a little bit of disagreement, but looks like the majority of the board is comfortable, John, if you want to move forward, but certainly I think to maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Angie, but we definitely want to continue our efforts to pull
Yeah,
in other
I-
partners, because certainly the more we can get more people on board, the lower the cost share, and I think all of us would love that. So I think we
Yeah,
sort of have consensus here,
Yeah.
but it's,
I would only say that because it's part of the business matters, and there is a recommendation for, we want to make sure the board is in support of this additional effort, that if one wanted to make a motion to say, yes, move forward, we support this effort with the cost share of 50% to IUA, for example, that could be a motion, because it's part of the business matters.
but even though it's within his authority already?
Well, it is, but it's been brought to you.
Okay.
That's my point.
So you
It's
would
been brought-
recommend that we do vote
Yeah,
on
if
it?
that's part of the discussion is giving your general manager direction, that could be the direction.
Okay, so I have
Yeah.
a motion then.
Okay.
And my
Don, does
mo-
that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
maybe
just add that I think the understanding with IEUA was we would pay for the study and they would reimburse us for their half while we actually continue to look for other partners.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, because we'll be the one directly contracting and taking the lead, because we've already made that arrangement or that discussion with the vendor.
So,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
So you had a motion you wanted to make, Angie?
Yeah, okay, so the motion, staff recommendation requesting the board to discuss and direction. So my recommendation, my motion would be that you do continue to work with IUA and see if you can find some other regional partners so that we have to show a coalition when we're going to Sacramento and Washington.
But is your motion contingent upon IUA covering half or not? Just to be clear.
Yes.
It is.
And just to further clarify, is your motion to allow the general manager to move forward with the study?
My motion is for the general manager to move forward with the study, contingent that there is an actual agreement with IUA to pay for 50, and to continue to look for other partners in the study.
Just to clarify, so when you say agreement, would that be sufficient that it's a verbal, or you want like a board voted agreement?
I need something in writing.
Oh, it's just that if we don't have that agreement, then the motion is contingent on getting that agreement. So I'm not
Correct,
sure you
and-
need to bring that agreement back, because that'd be for 14,000, but the
Yeah.
motion is contingent upon getting that reimbursement.
That's kind of why I wanted to clarify, just because I don't know if there'd be enough time to get something
Yeah, no.
done in writing to come back to another board meeting and still meet our goals of getting something done
Yeah.
in time for
I mean,
DC.
I
So
mean,
that's
not
why I
that
just
this
wanted to
wouldn't
clarify.
would happen, but if they bail out tomorrow, it's like, well,
Correct,
the motion was
correct.
contingent on getting half paid, so therefore we don't have it.
But
Doesn't
then,
happen.
that means if they don't pay, that means that we're exceeding the amount of money that outside our service area.
No, because the motion would be contingent upon getting that cost share. So if you don't get the cost share, which you're gonna get it, but if for some reason they backed out at the last minute, you wouldn't be able to move forward at all with the study.
There you go.
So is that,
Yes, I want
Agreement.
I want an agreement from my motion is for general manager to proceed with an agreement from IUA to pay share cost of 50% as they verbally agreed.
And that could be an email from their general
Yeah.
manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right?
To move forward contingent upon 50% coverage.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion?
I do appreciate your efforts with what you're doing, trying to find stakeholders. I do think that we need to just do this together as a coalition. So it shows that it's a regional effort that we're trying to do to bring nitrates and possibly other contaminants of concern that affect our impacted basins in our area. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the comments.
All right, any other comments, discussion? All right, we can call the roll.
Director Bennett,
Yes.
Director Garcia,
Yes.
Vice President Jenkins,
Yes.
President Young.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so now we go to board reports. And first up, we have board committee reports. Do any board committees have anything they need to report for tonight? No, I think I have one. Hold on, let me find it.
Should have, policy committee,
Yep.
HR committee, and safety tech, I believe.
I have
As
policy
possible
here.
options.
All right, so policy committee, so we met this past week to talk about the legislative principles. So the committee reviewed the draft legislative principles and industry survey. Additional information was requested to be brought back to the next policy and review oversight committee. This will include a flow chart showing the various options for submitting position letters on proposed legislation. We also talked about an employee reimbursement and travel policy. The committee received an updated report on the proposed travel policy to process employee travel and business expense reimbursements. The survey results were presented and changes were proposed, which will enhance the process and follow best practices. Such enhancements include the use of employee reimbursement forms, guidelines for per diem for meals and lodging, and this item will be coming to the full board for review and approval. And then the third thing we discussed was the turf rebate survey. So due to the conservation efforts being mandated by the state of California, we're seeing a higher demand for turf rebates and limited available funds. Staff conducted a survey to see how much of the or how other area agencies handle their turf rebate programs. The results provide important information such as the dollar per square foot rebate amounts and whether there is a dollar cap for each submission. Funding sources which staff can use to evaluate and update our turf rebate program. And this item will be now going to the Finance Committee for further review and comment. So that's the update from the Policy Committee.
I apologize. We do have to report for the Human Resource Committee, which I did attend. And just to outline the major details, we provide an update on recruitment for several positions. We discussed a class and comp study, and I didn't participate in the IE Works contract renewal, but that was also discussed.
All right, any other committee reports? Okay, board member reports. Do any board members have any reports they want to give or comments?
I just have a comment. I want to wish my mother-in-law a heavenly birthday. She passed away 3 months ago from cancer, so I just want to wish her a happy birthday. Thank you.
Any other?
I have one board report. I attended the Fontana Chamber Luncheon 2 weeks ago with Directors Garcia and our newest board member, Director Bennett.
Anything? Or all right, and I'll just want to further recognize those friends and family who are dealing with loved ones fighting cancer, and very pleased about the resolution today. And again, this month is, generally it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and with my mom now fighting a second battle of breast cancer, it's all the more poignant. So to everyone out there who's fighting the fight, just keep on up. So thank you. All right, General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have some quick updates, staffing and recruitments, and a meetings report. On staffing and recruitments, just 2 updates for Chief Financial Officer. That posting closed on October 7th, and we reviewed 12 of the top candidates, and we selected 7 for interviews for November 12th. And then secondly, for water conservation analyst, this has been posting for a while, since September 25th. So far, we just have one qualified applicant that has submitted. On a meetings report, pretty short this time. I've been trying to clear my schedule to allow some focus for progress on work plans and on the comp study over the last 2 weeks. But we did have an all-hands meeting with all staff this past Tuesday. And it was on Monday. Linda and I met up with Directors Moore and Bennett to tour the Rialto wastewater treatment plant, take a look at that pilot study that was in place using alternating magnetic fields and nanobubble technology. And tomorrow we are meeting with Assemblymember Eloise Gomez-Reyes for about an hour, starting at 3 o'clock out at the Romer project. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, John. Legal.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just part of my series of introducing bills that have been signed by the governor do not go into effect until the first of the year, but one has to do with the Public Records Act. As you may know, for the Public Records Act, once a request is made, the agency has 10 days to get back to the requester, saying whether or not they have the records and when they can be disclosed. In the case of special circumstances, that 10 days can be extended to 14 days. And those unusual circumstances are the agency needs to find the records from various sites. They need to check with another agency to see if they have the records, a different department of the same water district that has the records. But those are the only unusual circumstances that allow more time to respond to public records requests. And as you may know, some of these public records requests can be quite extensive. Well, during COVID, there were a lot of public records requests. Even COVID couldn't stop the PRE requests from coming in. And there was a concern about whether or not the lack of staffing people in the district office, a smaller staff dealing with arguably more important issues of getting the water transmitted, whether or not having to deal with a pandemic and a state of emergency would be an unusual circumstance. This bill does add as an unusual circumstance to allow more time if the governor has declared a statewide declaration of emergency. So it's not a local declaration of emergency, it would be a state one. But just the Public Records Act, I just wanted to mention that because A, it was something that did come up during COVID with some of our clients, to need more time to respond to records requests. And B, because public records requests can be frequent and voluminous, having this ability to take extra time if needed, not to stall, not to say we're not going to even tell you if we have the records, but simply to work within the confines of the law to respond as quickly and efficiently as possible. That's all I have, Mr. President.
I have a question on that. So when within the 10 days, is it just like response saying we're looking in, thank you for your PRA, we're going to be looking into it, and just giving them a timeline of when you're going to propose to give them the documents? I don't think it's necessarily that you have to give it to them during that timeline.
Well, within the 10 days, you need to tell them if you have the records or not to disclose. And if you have the records handy, you really need to disclose them within the 10 days. If you need more than 10 days to find out if you have the records, or you know you have the records, but you have to get them from a different field facility, the need to search and collect and from various sources, then you can tell them you want the extra 14 days. So yes, you have 10 days to get back to say, we have the records and we'll get them to you as soon as we can. Here's our schedule. Or B, we're not sure if we have them or not. We need to collect them from various sources and various databases. So it's not just getting back to say, hey, we got your request. The law does require that you move expeditiously. And it also requires the agency to work with the requester in case the district has a question about exactly what's being requested. It's a reasonable, expeditious response. If you can do it all within 10 days, you really need to. This is where you're not sure you have the records, you're not sure how quickly you compile them all for unusual circumstances.
Okay.
So you have to be reasonable and expeditious, but if it's going to take a while to compile them, You can take the extra time. In the state of an emergency, you can use that as one of the unusual circumstances.
I only ask because I've done PRAs and then they respond and they'll say, we'll get back to you in possibly 3 months. But they responded within the 10 days.
Just say just that they got the request.
And that we'll work on it,
Oh.
and we anticipate that you'll get documents within 6,
Oh.
you know. So they follow their 10-day PRA.
Well, fortunately here at the district and with legal counsel, and we have a public records department, we're, I would say, more expeditious than that.
Not in the past.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff.
Mr. President, I just have one, if I might, change to my last report on meetings. I just found out about 45 minutes ago, got a call from Eloise's office that she will have to reschedule her trip tomorrow. She's feeling under the weather.
Oh, wow. Hopefully she feels better soon.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Paula, you're filling in tonight, so you're up.
Yes, can we move forward to the next slide, please? One more. There we go. Okay, so the upcoming meetings, next week we have our ASBCSD meeting dinner. Everyone has been registered for that event. That is on the 21st. So on the 23rd, we have Finance Committee. On the 24th, it was announced that we have a special
Yeah,
board
we're gonna do a
meeting.
special meeting, so Angie, you and I will have to get with staff on trying to figure out a alternate day for the engineering.
Is the 22nd too soon?
It might be, I don't know. We would have to talk with staff after the meeting, but we can look at options, certainly.
After that, on the 26th, we have our succulent workshop here at the district. And so far, we have Director Bennett, Director Moore, and Vice President Jenkins attending that. Then we have more committee meetings, External Affairs, Executive Committee on the 29th. And that leads us into November. Next slide, please. Safety and Tech, Bloomington MAC. I want to point out on November 7th, that is our regular scheduled board meeting, which we have canceled, and we will be having an adjourned meeting on the 14th. That leads to the question about the board meeting on the 21st. We will have 2 back-to-back meetings, and we would like to perhaps inquire if there's a light agenda items. Maybe those items can be pushed to the first meeting of December. So something to consider. We can discuss in the upcoming weeks about that meeting.
Yeah, we can monitor with John as far as if there's not a lot, we can look at possibly canceling that second meeting then.
Okay.
I will, if I
Okay.
can make one correction. I'm no longer on the safety and technology meeting. That's
Oh, that is
scheduled
correct. We have to
for
update our
November 4.
calendar.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And that is it. Unless anyone has any more questions or comments for upcoming events.
Any questions on any of that? All right, thank you very much. All right, board. Thank you very much, and we are adjourned.